Okay, so good day once again. No, this will be now the final topic for our midterms for professional salesmanship. So, chapter 4.1 would be now your consumer motivation. And the topics that we are going to discuss for today would be a recap, a refresher on the topics that you have learned in your consumer behavior. Okay? So, when we say consumer motivation, people buy for a variety of reasons. Every time we buy an item, whether it may be a small item or a large item, there is a motivation behind it. Now, how does a customer evaluate his or her requirements? Now, what are the needs and wants that we have to consider before buying a product? What drives them to choose one product over the others? Why are we going to buy option A rather than option B? These are the core marketing concepts that any business or salesman must understand in order to be a successful, lucrative, and a market leader. So before we sell items, products and services, we must understand the motivation behind the consumer's buying decision. So when a customer makes a transaction, and when we say transaction, of course, this is now the exchange of the product or service. Kapalit ay cash, di ba? Kasi, syempre, in a business, we will accept cash. It is usually to meet a need. But what's interesting to salesmen is that customer demands aren't always obvious to them. Sometimes we make assumptions, di ba? Why does the customer buy this product or purchase a need? But they represent a huge potential for marketers if we can understand the motivation behind the purchasing decision. So, by definition, consumer motivation is defined as the internal driving force that motivates people to take action. And what is the action? The action to buy the product or service. In terms of marketing, the action would be purchasing a product or using a service that meets the requirements and their desires. This motivated conduct is always goal-oriented, focusing on what is required to meet a certain need. For example, let's say you are going to buy a basic need. Let's say maliligo ka, you need shampoo. Now the question is, there are a lot of options, diba, for shampoos. Which among the options, alternatives, would satisfy your need? Kailangan mo lang ba ng shampoo? Regular na shampoo? Kailangan mo ba ng shampoo that will remove dandruff? Or do you need a shampoo with conditioner? Diba? These are different options, but one option will definitely satisfy your need. Diba? So, let's go back to needs. Ano nga ba ang needs? Every person has a certain need that must be met. Social and cultural requirements are secondary to basic needs such as food and clothing. So, ano ba ang basic needs natin? Air, water, sleep, rest, food, and shelter. These are basic needs. How about wants? Needs are the bare necessities, whereas wants are something more than that is in addition to the basics of life. For example, food is a need, it is a requirement, while the type of food we desire is a desire, it's a want. For example, when we say that food, itong food na to is the basic need, what are now the different options sa food? Siyempre, food will only satisfy the hunger. Yung hunger is the need. But the wants is, what type of food would I want? So, ano yung options natin? Maybe, pwede ka na sa pancit canton. Or maybe, nagkikrave ka ng samgyupsal, Korean foods. Or maybe, gusto mo ng mga bulalo. Okay? Or gusto mo ng pancit. Ayan. So, these are now the wants. A modification on the need. Okay? Now, on the part of the salesman, ano ba ang kailangan nating isatisfy? Is it the need or the want? Okay? A superior salesman must focus on the wants. Bakit? Kasi this need all types of products can satisfy the need. But our product, we will modify now our product to satisfy the want. For example, if you are a food establishment, ayan, ang need ng isang estudyante, estudyante yung customer natin, is makakain sa lunch. Ano yung want? What will you now offer? Will you offer Korean, Filipino, Japanese? Are you going to offer something that is affordable? Are you going to offer that is something in quantity? Diba? This will now differentiate you from your competitors. By identifying the want, ano ba ang gusto ng estudyante? Yun ang i-offer ko. Okay? That is now the difference of needs and wants. Again, as a salesman, we must focus on the wants. Provide the wants. Okay? Other examples dito, yan yung, for example, dito sa water, di ba ngayon, ang dami ng types ng water. Meron na ngayon yung pure water lang. We have carbonated drinks. Ayan, yung mga sparkling water, juice, shakes, milk tea. All of this can satisfy the need na thirst. How about yung the need ng home? Kung pupunta ka sa isang ibang lugar, pwede kang mag-offer ng transient, pwede kang mag-offer ng hotel, pwede kang mag-offer ng motel, pwede kang mag-offer ng resort. Again, it will depend on the want ng customer. Okay? Alright. So, what are goals? Goals are the objectives that must be met in order to achieve success. The nature of the objectives is both generic and product particular. Even yung customers natin have their goals. Especially when they try to buy yung mga large items, yung mga mamahaling items. For example, during the pandemic, di ba, the goal for the student or in a family is to buy a gadget that can be used for online learning. Ayan, the goal, yun yung goal. Babalik naman tayo dun sa need. Need is something na may internet at pwedeng mag-open ng files. Want naman is something na pwede mo gawing future-proof. That's why sometimes, di ba, we invest on new items kasi they are future-proof. Meron yung mga updates in the future. Okay? Ano yung pipiliin natin? Could it be Apple? Could it be Samsung? Huawei? Yun yung mga wants. Alright? Now, motivation is based on the satisfaction of needs and satisfaction of desires. Change occurs as a result of a variety of variables, both internal and external in nature. Individuals' personal, social, cultural, and economic requirements can sometimes be met, and other times they cannot, depending on the circumstances. So it would be a case-to-case basis. For example, pre-pandemic, balik tayo dun sa example natin kanina na gadget. Pre-pandemic, nung hindi pa naantala ang mga business operations, ang ating mga financial capabilities, but sometimes, if we have wants, yun yung gusto nating bilhin. Kung gusto nating bumili ng gadget, for example, ng Apple, or Samsung, something na branded, kaya pa natin yan. No? But, something or meron yung fortuitous events na mangyayari na hindi natin naasahan. For example, of course, is the pandemic. Do we now have the capacity to buy yung mga branded products na yun? Even if pasok siya sa ating personal, social, cultural, and economic requirements. But in times of emergency such as the pandemic, we cannot nawawala yung motivation natin to buy those branded products kasi syempre our priority is for survival. Okay? So it always depends on the circumstances. Yan. So what are some of the theories of motivation? No, na I think naalala nyo to sa some na-discuss nyo ito on some of your subjects. And our favorite is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. In accordance with the concept of a universal hierarchy of human requirements by Dr. Abraham Maslow, he is a clinical psychologist who developed a theory of human motivation, na step-by-step siya na motivation from bottom to top, that is widely recognized today. Now, this defines the 5 fundamental levels of human need, which are ranked in order of priority from lower level to higher level which means that we will always start from the bottom. Yan, no? Starting with the most basic ones. And so here are the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So it starts with the physiological needs or the basic needs such as your food, water, warmth, and rest. These are the basic needs in order for a human to survive. Next is after we satisfy the physiological needs, punta naman tayo sa safety needs, which is the security and safety. Okay? Which is also part of your basic needs. Now, if we satisfy all of our basic needs, we will go to the psychological needs, starting from belongingness and love and needs, which is your intimate relationships, your friends, your groups. Then dun tayo sa esteem needs, which is the prestige, achievements, and feeling of accomplishment. And the highest need, yung self-fulfillment needs natin or your self-actualization, which is achieving one's full potential, including your creative activities. So let's start with the bottom. What are physiological needs? Food, clothing, air, shelter. These are the most basic needs of a person. That's why they are called as your fundamental necessities or core requirements. Kasi without this, you cannot survive. Can you survive without food? Of course not. Clothing? Kaya niyo ba mag-survive nung walang damit? Of course not. Kaya niyo ba mag-survive nung walang bahay? No? We are lucky enough that all of us, diba, have the ability to have shelter, yung bahay or home. Air. Can you survive without air? Ayan. So again, basic needs in order to survive. Okay? After that, syempre, our safety and security needs, diba, ability or the need to be safe. Consumers move on to the next level of needs once the first level requirements have been met. The requirements for security includes your physical safety, diba? At saan natin unang nararamdaman ang safety? Of course, in our families. Ayan. Our family will provide the first level of safety. Security, stability when it comes to finances, and even protection, no? Especially during the pandemic. Ito ang bumalik lahat tayo dito yung protection against the virus, against the COVID-19 virus. Yan. Something that we all need. Which by today, if we see the trends, di ba yung trends naman natin, cases are going down, which is more and more, mas nararamdaman natin na nagiging safe na tayo. And hopefully, by next year, WHO will announce the end of the pandemic. Let's hope so. Yan. After those, ito na yung ating belongingness or love needs, the need to be loved. So, following the satisfaction of the safety requirements, consumers seek to feel the sense of connection and attachment. Diba? Relationships. Ito na, the need to build relationships. Diba? Relationship with your parents, with your siblings, with your loved ones, and even your friends. Ayan. Relationships. They must retain their social standing and make an effort to be accepted by others. No. Now, if you remember, I think during high school or even siguro late elementary, these are the time in our lives that we are trying to find kung saan ba tayo grupo nakakabilang. Diba? Ito yung una nating hinahanap kung saan barkada ba tayo mapupunta. Kasi by that age, we are already having the need to belong. Okay, the need to belong. Ayan. The need to be accepted. Yan, ito yung third level natin ng Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs. So after that, dun tayo sa fourth level, dun naman tayo sa esteem needs. Okay? The need to achieve. Ayan. The need for achievements. Then there are esteem requirements such as self-worth, social standing, and even reputation. Diba? Individuals at this stage desire to soar above the typical level of performance. Diba? Gusto natin mag-top 1, to be the best, to be the excellent. And as compared to others in order to achieve mental fulfillment. Okay? That's why sometimes, di ba, we have the need to compete. Ito yung need natin to compete to let the society know that we are the best at something. Di ba? Maybe the best ka in sports, some are best in sports, nag-champion sa sports, or sometimes sa academics, ayan, or sometimes sa art, di ba? This is in relation din dito sa ating belongingness. Kasi by finding our group, our passion, we can turn it to esteem needs, di ba? By excelling on that passion. Maybe pwede ka the best in entrepreneurship, or the best in cooking, best in dancing, ayan. So those are some examples of esteem needs. And the last need, which is one of the hardest need to satisfy, is your self-actualization. Okay? Self-actualization. And I believe most people is hindi pa nasasatisfy tong need na to. This is the most senior position in the hierarchy. People in this community strive to be the best in their fields and raise their overall level of performance, and they referred to as self-actualizers. They are now on the point that they see that they are already on the peak on their needs, that they have to give back to the society. They want to help others. Okay? And they have already achieved yung self-enlightenment. Ayan. Okay, which is one of the best needs na sana ma-achieve natin in the future, kasi we are giving back na to the society. We are helping others. We have a good sense of who we are, and we want to share kung ano yung na-achieve natin to the world. Okay? Self-actualization. So question is, have you already achieved yung self-actualization? Okay? Maybe you are asking, sir, kailangan ba maging matanda ako to achieve yung self-actualization, which is not, no? Sometimes even mga kabataan natin nandito na. You can see some of our youth na tumutulong na to the society. They want to help others, which means that they have already achieved self-actualization. Even our social entrepreneurs, di ba? If you remember your topics in social entrepreneurship, di ba? Giving back to the society, giving back to the environment. Actually, these are entrepreneurs who have already achieved self-actualization, to the point that profitability would only be their second objective. Their first objective is always to make a social impact. Self-actualization. Ganda, no? And so, I hope we someday we achieve yung self-actualization need natin. So, other theories lang dito, let's discuss. Ayan, marketers must understand the motivations of their potential customers in order to generate profitable sales. A buyer has a variety of motivations, each of which changes depending again on the situation. Fortunately, in such situations, marketers may easily assist their customers by altering their marketing plan based on the needs and wants of the customers in order to address yung dispute, di ba, at hand. So here are some most significant conflicts that could develop. Yan, examples lang. Okay, an approach conflict, ito yung choosing between alternatives, no? It is possible to encounter this conflict when a customer is presented with two alternatives options for the same items or services that can satisfy the need. Despite the fact that he values them equally, he is unable to prioritize one over the other. For example, ito yung ating Apple versus Android. Okay? If you will try to analyze these two operating systems sa ating mga smartphones, it's the same. It's exactly the same. But why do people chooses Apple over Android? Sinabi ko kanina, they practically does the same thing. Yet, some people want to purchase the expensive alternative. No, aminin natin, Apple would be always expensive over Android. No? Because, as approach conflict, this customer already have a personal attachment with the brand. Okay? Personal attachment with the brand. And as a salesman, let's say ikaw ay salesman na nagbebenta ng Android phones, it would be very hard, no, to sell an Android phone to a person na may personal attachment sa Apple. That is now your approach conflict. Okay? What else? Approach avoidance conflict. This form of conflict occurs when a consumer chooses in favor of a product but is dissatisfied with a specific element of the product and wishes to avoid it. Okay? Yan. Okay, I think you have experienced to, no, na pinag-isipan mo talaga yung two alternatives. For example, balik tayo dito sa Android versus Apple. Okay? Two conflicts. At let's say, bigla kang bumili ng Android for some reason. Ang approach avoidance conflict is you have bought an alternative, yung Android, but you are not satisfied with the product. Na, ano ba itong Android itong hirap gamitin, ang daming ek-ek, ang bilis malobat, etc. etc. Diba? You have bought an alternative, yet you are dissatisfied. So what will now happen to the future? Are you still going to buy an Android phone? And naging dissatisfied ka na from the past? Most likely in the future, you will try to avoid, no, that product. That is approach avoidance conflict. Ayan. An inner drive that reflects goal-directed arousal is defined as your motivation. In the context of consumer behavior, this results in a desire for a certain product, service, or experience. When you buy and utilize items and services, you are driving yourself to satisfy your physiological and psychological needs and wants. This is now what we call as consumerism, diba? As a whole. So, we have 5 stages of motivation process. We have the latent need, the drive, the want or desire, the goal, and the behavior. Okay? So, it starts with the latent need. No? Ano ba yung kailangan ko talaga in the first place? Going back to our example kanina, na nag-pandemic at kailangan kong bumili ng gadget for online classes. That is now the latent need. I need a gadget. I'm thinking of to buy a gadget. The drive is, nag-enroll ka na, teachers are requiring you, diba, to have yung online delivery ng mga materials, maybe through Google Classroom. So, nagkaroon ka ng drive. I enrolled, I need to have that gadget. Want or desire? Ayan. The want, of course, is the choices. What gadget should I buy? Should I buy a laptop? Should I buy a cell phone? Should I buy a tablet? What brand? Should I buy Apple, Samsung, Huawei, Mi? Yan, napakadaming brands, Sony, etc. The goal now is after assessing all the alternatives, which among these brands, which among these formats should I buy? Let's say, ang napag-design ko is to buy a Windows laptop na lang. Kasi it's all-in-one. It would be much easier for me to encode, to do my projects. And the behavior is to actually buy the product. Diba? There should be a transaction. I will buy the Windows laptop in exchange of money dun sa nagbebenta. And that is the 5 stages of motivation process. And so, thank you once again. Here are my sources. And I will see you sa finals.